Hi, and welcome to episode 5 of Rethinking Grading, where we will talk about students with disabilities. Now, before we get too far into this conversation, it's important to start with a really important understanding, which, as you see here, is that students with disabilities are not a monolith. I was fortunate enough when I began my education career. I started as an aide at the Perkins School for the Blind, where I worked with students who were blind and had multiple disabilities. It's really in my DNA as an educator to be mindful of the challenges and the rewards of working with students with disabilities. And I just want to call that out. And certainly, one of the biggest things I learned is that there is a huge diversity among students with disabilities. For example, at our school, there are some students who struggle in school, while there are some who excel. There are some who have had positive experiences in their sending schools, but there are also some who did not. There are also some who receive accommodations according to their IEPs, and there are some who receive modifications. And if you're not familiar with those two terms, I'd just like to go over those briefly now. Accommodations are when there are changes to how the student is taught, but what is taught stays the same. Examples of this can include preferential seating, a graphic organizer, fill in the blank notes, an audio version of the text, and there are certainly many more. Modifications, on the other hand, are when what is taught changes according to the IEP. Standards and rubrics are adjusted to be at a developmentally appropriate level. And this is exactly what happens in a traditional grading system. Examples of this include fewer standards being assessed, different readings being used, and a different rubric being used. It's important, too, that there's professional development that has been offered, will be offered as we work through the new grading system. For example, we've already had two meetings. Director of Special Education, Katie Berry, and myself have met with teachers to discuss their questions and concerns concerning students with disabilities. There's lots of reading and research that's being done, ranging from different books to teacher pilots in the 2022-2023 school year. And this includes teachers of students with disabilities making sure that they were involved in this process and this pilot. Perhaps most importantly, Katie Berry, the Director of Special Education at South Shore, and myself were able to have a consultation with the Director of Special Education at a school that has a similar grading system to our new grading system, and they've used it for over 5 years. They've reported that there's been no concerns about their students with disabilities. There has not been any huge drop in terms of grades or understanding, that everything has really stayed similar to what it was like before they changed their grading system. And this makes sense. Instruction stays the same, relationships stay the same, accommodations are still provided, modifications are still provided. The grading system is just how we report, it doesn't actually change the nature of the education. Over the summer, there are stipends available for teachers who are willing and able to do work over the summer, and that could be designing rubrics, redesigning assessments to be better prepared for the rollout for the fall. And importantly, there will still be more professional development offered throughout the 23-24 school year. Ultimately, then, folks, in terms of the big takeaways, just as they do now, teachers will provide the appropriate supports to students who receive accommodations. Just as they do now, teachers will adjust assessments and rubrics for students who receive modifications. And just as they do now, students with disabilities will learn and grow in a developmentally appropriate way. If you have questions or concerns about students with disabilities and the new grading system, please reach out to me. You can see my email, phone number, and website there. The best way to contact me over the summer is email. If you have anything that you have questions about, please don't hesitate to ask. I look forward to connecting with you if you do have questions, and take care.